What up, everybody? It's your boy, Sinner Sanctified. And oh man, thank you for all the amazing comments. And you guys wanted to hear more about my testimony. Why not share more? But before I get into part two, I'm gonna give you a 1.5. More people were asking about the accolades growing up and when I met the girl or leading up to the girl. 25 years in the music industry, 20 plus years growing marijuana, 20 years knowing Jesus now. On a personal level, I was growing up as a wee little lad. I was an altar boy. Elementary school time, you learn how to be an altar server. In my family, my two older brothers were altar boys. You learn not only from them, but when you learn from the director at the parish, maybe the priest or an acolyte is there who teaches how to serve the altar and what's needed, what time. So you learn very detailed parts of the Mass. Mass was always confusing. I didn't know what part we were in or what part we were going to or where we were going. I didn't have it laid out in my mind like I have it now. After reading the Bible and going to Mass, it's almost like the Bible's now coming to life for me. When I was an altar server, I didn't really get the whole story about Jesus and John chapter 6, the Last Supper, why sacrifice and worship go together. I had no idea they were really drinking blood on the altar and really devouring flesh on the altar. Hello? As a kid, somebody tells you, hey, you're about to go eat the body and blood, soul and divinity of Jesus Christ. You're like, yeah, okay. It didn't click. It never did. So as an altar server, I took a lot of pride in like my two older brothers did this, so I'm gonna do this too. It became a real burden. My oldest brother, he felt that he needed to set the example, right? And so everything had to be perfect all the time. There wasn't a Mass that I served at, there wasn't something wrong. Ran the bells too long, I didn't come out fast enough with the book, or I held the cross too high. It was always something. So it never was a great experience for me. It never was a, hey man, you did really well, or congrats, good job. It wasn't none of that. It was always, you sucked. You know how bad you sucked. You missed the bells, the first ring, like the Holy Spirit came down and nothing. Nobody heard a bell, like what's up? In my mind, thinking to myself, well, this is not something I really want to do. Already in the back of my mind, I don't even want to go to church. My oldest brother's going to criticize me in it, or I'm going to do something wrong, or something's going to go down where it's not going to click, right? But my mom was always encouraging. Bless her heart, she would always be like, don't worry about what he says, baby. Keep doing what you're doing, right? Even if you ring the bells wrong, totally wrong, whatever. And I distinctively remember one time going to an Ash Wednesday service, get called down where everybody forms a line, they go get their ashes on their forehead. And I distinctively remember getting my ashes and then wiping them off my forehead immediately. I don't want this on my forehead. When I got back to the pew, my mom said, well, what happened to your ashes? And I was like, I wiped them off. And then I saw the look on her face and I just started crying. I knew I messed up, but I didn't know why. I was like, crap. What can I do to rectify the situation? After Mass was over, we went up to the priest, and the priest was gracious enough to re-minister me some ashes, and I wore my ashes proudly for the rest of the day. Hey, Mom, look, I still got my ashes on. Hey, Mom, look, I still got my ashes on. Never mind the dirty elbows and the dirty pants and all the stains on the shirt, but church wasn't always a fun place for me. I didn't understand what was going on. My oldest brother was criticizing me every time I was an altar boy. It wasn't a fun place for me. Now, there was some really great priests out there. Father John Upton, he was an amazing priest. He would listen to your stories. He'd be attentive to you. Father O'Malley, he was awesome. He used to say the Mass so fast. I would love Father O'Malley to say the Mass because I knew I would be in and out of there real quick. Like, he'd be like, done, like out of there, like done. Like, it was cool. And then you had really strict nuns like Sister Marjorie, God rest her soul. She was an amazing woman, but strict. You sure you sit up straight? And yes, sir, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All that stuff. So God bless those souls because they really helped form a lot of lives and really did a great job catechizing to people. It's just sometimes people don't get it, and I didn't get it, right? Coming out of that experience, I do remember always wanting to go sleep over at a friend's house or having, friend to come over to my house. But the rule was you have to go to church on Sunday. So either you'd have to come spend the night at my house so we both could go to church on Sunday, or I can only spend the night on Friday night to Saturday night, and then I have to go back home to go to church. So a lot of the times I'd invite my friends over to my house, and then I would take them to church with me, even though they weren't Catholic. So I was always in this habit of bringing people to church with me, like always. I'd always have a friend with me. God bless Trey Cooper. Trey Cooper probably went to more masses, poor Trey Cooper. He was probably more Catholic than I was. I mean, Trey Cooper, great friend of mine growing up. He was a great pal, always went to church with me. And so that's what my experience as a young lad was like. But at home, it was kind of different because at home, not only did my brothers were altar boys, but they also had jobs when they were young. So they threw papers in the neighborhood. And I don't mean just like one route. They had like 5, 6 routes, right? They were entrepreneurs. Them being entrepreneurs, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. They have a job, I want a job. But I didn't want to roll papers and throw papers. That seemed like way too much work. First job I ever had was selling greeting cards from door to door. I was in the 5th grade, and what happened is you would go door to door and sell greeting cards, and for every greeting card you sold, you made $1. And then 6 weeks would come in and they'd ship the cards in and you have to go distribute the cards. But I loved the first part. The first part, I go knock on the door, give them my spiel, I get a couple bucks, put it in my pocket, and I'm off. Never thinking when the cards came in, I'd have to go back out and redo all that work again. So my dad was like, wait a minute, I'm doing half the work, you're getting all the money. No, we're not doing this anymore. And so that was the end of my first job right then and there. I blundered my first job, but I love the feeling of having money in my pocket. I love the feeling of seeing my older brother Bernard get so excited because he had so much money stacked up in his little safe in his room, right? And I was so envious of that, like, man, Bernard's got it all. You know, he's got the fly clothes, he's got the fly Fila's. That's how old I am. I'm saying Fila's or fly. He got all the fly drip. And I wanted to emulate Bernard because Bernard had the money, he had the jewelry. I mean, Bernard was like balling back when balling wasn't even a thing. So I always looked up to my older brother Bernard. Fast forward a little bit, when I was in middle school, I really had this fascination with music. This fascination with music was, it kept my mind wanting just to jump out of my skull because I couldn't get math and I couldn't get science, but music, it just spoke to me in a way, right? I went to Fondren Middle School. The reason I ended up at Fondren Middle School is I got kicked out of Johnston Middle School. And Johnston Middle School, they were a school at the time where they were all about music. When I was at Johnston, for some reason, I didn't, participate too much in the music class. And my dad told me, well, we're not doing that anymore. We're just going to send your butt to Fondren. So I went and thugged it out at Fondren Middle School. And at Fondren Middle School, there was no band. So my dad was super happy. Like, the kid can't get into music. This is perfect. Well, when I show up the first year, they introduced a brand new marching band, first time ever. And so I got into music and the marching band, and I ended up becoming a drum major. And for those that don't know what a drum major is, he's the guy in the front of the marching band with the big old stick that does the salute and the big old top hat and high steps in the whole city. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I go there, all right? So that was my first love with music and my attachment to music. Fast forward to high school, I didn't do no drugs in high school, not a drop. Like, no smoking, no snorting, none of it, right? It was only until my senior year where I even thought about doing drugs. Yeah, I had hit the blunt once or twice in middle school or whatever, but it wasn't like a fascination with it, right? My first drug experience was, you want more? Stick around. Sinner sanctified, favored by faith, saved by God's grace. Kirk out.